Before this video begins, guys, I just want to say that this funeral and memorial service for Queen Elizabeth II was utterly spectacular. It was awe-inspiring how good it was. Rest in peace, Queen Elizabeth. Hey guys, Lewis here, and we're back with another video. Now, I asked you guys what you wanted to see on my Instagram as a poll for the next video, and surprisingly it was a 50-50 split between a versus battle or my very first top 5. So I decided to do a top 5 because I figured that would be the most different thing for my channel, and it would be a little bit of a break from the traditional versus content. For those of you who love the versus battle content though, do not worry, because in the background of this video we have a versus battle going on between me and many wolf spiders. So yep, there's that to look forward to if you enjoy the versus battle content. So with that being said though guys, the topic for my very first top 5 is the top 5 worst mutations to use in Grounded. I'm going to be basing this list more specifically on mutations that just will not help you in any given situation, or mutations that are just so unbelievably niche or specific that in the grand scheme of things they won't make too much of a difference to your game. So coming in at the number 5 spot guys, the 5th worst mutation in Grounded in my opinion is Truffle Tussle. Now what this mutation does is essentially attacks with your fists have a chance to create a fungal explosion similar to the explosions that you encounter in the Haze lab area, which will basically create like an AoE explosion that occurs when punching insects, and you get this mutation by killing the infected ladybird mini-boss in the Haze lab. And whilst this mutation does sound cool, having explosive fists, realistically the fact that you have to be unarmed in order for this to even work really sucks, as you're essentially handicapping yourself by having a really bad weapon, and unless you're creating a specific punch-only build, this mutation will really just hinder you, as the absence of a weapon will mean that you do very low damage unless, you get lucky and you proc several explosions per fight. Not the absolute worst mutation on the list, but definitely a mutation that it needs a rework in my opinion, as you need to have several mutations together in a build for this to be worthwhile using. Now for the number 4 spot, I'm going to combine 2 mutations together, as they essentially do the same thing but just for different resources, those being Grassmaster and Rockcracker. Now the problem that I have with these is, yeah, they increase the efficiency for destroying the resources by eventually 100%, so you use half the amount of stamina to destroy them once you get them to tier 3. The problem is that you need to destroy 500 blades of grass to get tier 3 Grassmaster and destroy 100 rocks for Rockcracker. These are just very, very, very far into the game in my opinion for them to be useful, and you won't even need them that often. Because yeah, while Grassmaster is the better one of the two as it affects more than just rocks, realistically you can destroy those resources fast anyway with a tier 2 and tier 3 axe. So this mutation is very useful to have, but it's not at all needed, and it is kind of redundant in my opinion. At the number 3 spot we have the most noob friendly mutation, with that being Barbarian, which basically makes club attacks have a chance to enter rage mode, basically increasing your attack damage, but it messes up your perfect block timing. The reason that this is noob friendly in my opinion is because people will look at this and think, wow, more attack damage? That sounds awesome. The problem is though, is it desynchronizes perfect blocks, and perfect blocks are so incredibly important, basically Grounded's equivalent of parrying. These perfect blocks literally make fighting wolf spiders and insects of that nature so much more easy and bearable, and messing up perfect blocking in many ways will shoot yourself in the foot. This in my opinion is the antithesis of Parry Master, which essentially rewards you for perfect blocking, whereas Barbarian seems to deter you from doing it in the first place. Not to mention, you have to kill 200 creatures with a club for this to be worthwhile, so in my opinion, I'd just stick with Parry Master. Gliding down majestically into the number 2 spot, we have the mutation Daredevil, and what this does is it reduces fall damage by 50%, and a fall that would otherwise be fatal will instead leave you at 1 HP. Now the problem I have with this mutation is gliders exist. It really is that simple. Gliders essentially are an early game resource. You can chop them down pretty much as when pretty much when you start the game you can get a glider, and they essentially prevent you from taking fall damage as long as you remember to open them before you fall. So reducing fall damage by 50% when there is an early game resource that literally makes falls essentially like redundant. Like, Daredevil is awful in my opinion. It is a mutation that it is just a waste of a slot, as you don't need it. You know, gliders essentially do what Daredevil does, but they do it better. They're way easier to get. They don't require 3000 raw science. They just require a basic tier 1 axe and locations of dandelions. This mutation is horrible and you should stay way away from it in my opinion. However, taking the top spot on today's list is Little Fist. And Little Fist is by far the worst mutation in Grounded because it's essentially when you're using your fist, it will slowly amp your damage throughout the fight. It basically has a chance to increase your damage with your fists, and it will increase it by 75% at some point, and it will continue to stack until combat is over. The problem with this, however, is you're essentially starting a fight with no damage whatsoever, when you could really start the fight with a mint mace, you know, a Coltana, something like that, and already make Little Fist redundant. Not to mention, you have to kill 200 creatures with fists, so you basically have to endure 200 incredibly difficult battles in order to get a mutation that won't help you in combat in the slightest. Really, what is the point? This is, in my opinion, the worst combat-orientated mutation, and the worst mutation in the game overall. But with that being said though, guys, that was my top 5 list of the worst mutations in Grounded. If you disagree with my list, if you think the order needs to be changed, or if you think another mutation is deserving of a spot on the list, feel free to let me know in the comment section down below. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe as always, and feel free to comment the next top 5 or the next versus battle that you would like to see on my channel. Have a nice day everyone, and I will talk to you all in the next one. Stay safe and have a great rest of your evening. This is Lewis, signing out.